Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending from whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. I'm so grateful, excited, and pumped up to share with you interesting and insightful setup that we can actually use to manage our current positions on all of the instruments we've been monitoring so far this week. But before we start the session, let's confirm that we are good to go this morning. So if you can hear my voice clearly and you can see my screen, please type in hi in the comment section so we can get this started. So I would like to see some feedbacks. Give me a confirmation that we are good to go. Let me know if the sound is good, and if it isn't, let me know so that I can do the necessary adjustments. Okay, so let's see what we have here in the comment section. Okay, I think I have a handful of comments right here, so I can see some highs from 738 to 76, 539, 589. Thank you guys. Okay, 556. You're welcome. 282, 475, 422. 706. Hey Carrie, good morning to you, Carrie. Glad to have you around. Valerie, good morning to you. Thank you for checking in. Backstreet, thank you, Carrie. All right, so I will take this as a positive feedback that we are good to go this morning. So it's on this note I welcome you all once again. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour we are going to be, as usual, evaluating the current market structure using technical parameters to identify potential trading opportunity. We shall be delving deep into an insightful analysis of all the instruments on our watch list, and these are the GBPUSD, the USTech100, the XAUUSD, the USOILSPOT, and we also added another new instrument, which was the USD CHF, which was of course introduced to us by one of us in this community. So we are going to be using powerful setups to uncover ideas that can potentially shape our trading decision for today. And of course, you know how we do it. We rely on the power of trend lines, key level, and of course chart patterns to gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of this market. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board, as this is how we gather here on a daily basis, and what we simply do is to come together as a community in anticipation of the New York session. During this time, we review and manage our current position, while we also aim to position ourselves strategically for every day's New York session. So this happens on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And initially it might look a little bit overwhelming since this is your first time with us, but trust me, our strategy is very simple. All you just need to do is remain patient and spend more time with us. Join us on our subsequent editions, and with time you will eventually be able to use the information you will be gathering in this community to make your independent decision on your own account. So once again, I welcome you on board. So now that we have this all sorted out, let's dive right into the business for today. And of course, the first thing we are going to be doing is to check on the economic calendar. And by now we all know how important the economic calendar is, and you know these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movements. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns. So what we shall be focusing on the economic calendar are high impact events from economic dockets that will be affecting any of the currencies we are monitoring for this week. And this is the US economy, the Japanese the United Kingdom. So for today, Tuesday, July 18th, we have the retail sales month on month for June and the retail sales control group for the month of June. The retail sales data is released by the US Census Bureau, which measures the total receipts of retail stores rather. And in fact, this is an indicator of consumer spending, which is a high impact event that everyone wants to be looking forward to. Generally speaking, a high reading is seen as positive for the US dollar, while a negative reading is seen as a low reading is seen as negative. Now, if we look at the previous data for the month of May, we saw it came in at 0.3%, and there is a general consensus here projecting a 0.5% for today. So there's the belief that there will be there is some positivity in the year as regards to the retail sales data. So we are going to be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be like. Is it going to be just as expected, below expectation, or even beyond expectation? But of course, what we are going to be doing here is to try to identify potential trading opportunity in such a way that we can be on standby to catch any potential move prior, during, or even after this event. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. And as usual, the first instrument we are going to be taking is, of course, the US Oil Spot. A very interesting setup we have here on the US Oil Spot since the beginning of the week, though we have been selling despite the fact we saw a demand zone at the beginning of the week. Though the sell momentum we've been enjoying so far this week has not really gained much traction, as we can see price action at every point in time come back to our break-even zone. So let's run through what really started this week and what incited the idea of selling despite the demand zone we identified on the 1 hour time frame. So let me zoom out a little bit so that we can see things more clearly. And the first thing we observed here on the 1 hour time frame is the fact that price action has been very bullish since the beginning of this month. And to further emphasize the strength of the buyers in this particular market, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us an ascending trend line, which have been guiding this bullish momentum since the beginning of this month. And in fact, we also connected the series of higher highs, giving us an ascending channel, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers in this market. Now, there is one thing about the structure that makes things a little bit more interesting. It's not the ascending trend line, but the character of price action during the course of last week. Remember, we were in a very successful and profitable journey after buying the US Oil Spot. I think we bought it around the $73.50 level as we rode the move all the way into the $77.20 area. And one thing we observe here at the beginning of the week is this beautiful demand zone, which has been a strong buying niche for participants in the market. Of course, we saw our sellers struggled around that area. Look at what happened here at the beginning of last week. We saw buying pressure resume around here, and since the breakout of that structure, we saw our sellers struggled when price action came into that area. We saw what happened during the midweek of last week, and we saw what happened on the last trading day of last week as we saw price action close around that demand zone. And at the beginning of this week, we were hoping that we're going to be seeing a reversal pattern above that demand zone to incite another wave of bullish momentum. But unfortunately for the buyers, the opposite was what happened, as we saw our price action finally did break down both the demand zone here at the beginning of this week, and of course broke down the ascending trend line which has been supporting this bullish momentum in the last couple of weeks to incite the idea of selling the US Oil Spot. Now, with the situation we saw at the beginning of the week, we also identified how price action was initially caught within a range, giving us a clue into the level of indecision at the beginning of this market structure. So we identified this range where price action was caught within a channel, just right within the $75 level, and of course the $74.45 area to give us an idea into the level of indecision at that point in time. And you know how we do it in this community. As soon as we identify a range like this, we want to remain patient, waiting for either a breakout of the resistance line to happen to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And prior to our live session yesterday, I told us all that I already have a sell position running after the breakdown retest of the structure. And during our live session yesterday, we were around this area. Hold on a second. And I told us all that if we begin to see selling pressure around this area, we want to be part of a bearish move with our stop loss sitting somewhere right above that resistance level so that we can secure our puts portfolio against any further loss. We saw what happened a couple of hours into the New York session. We saw price again broke down that level. Price moved about, how many pips was that? About 60 to 70 pips thereabout. And if you had moved your stop loss accordingly, just like we always do in this community, you must have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even on the US All Spot. So far this week, we are yet to be very, very profitable, as the sell bearish expectation we had in this market really did not gain any significant traction for us to scoop some profit. But it's okay, the week is still very young, and this is just the second day of the week, as participants in this market are still trying to test waters to see where price action is likely going to be going for the week. Now, looking at the current structure from a technical standpoint, and this morning while I was trying to decipher what could really happen today, especially as we anticipate a high impact event coming in from the US economic docket, that is the retail sales data, I begin to see a pattern around this structure here which needs a level of attention, and that is the fact that the new level here at the $73.75 area, which happens to be the lowest point where price action has been for this week, has been an area where sellers have been struggling. So despite the fact that we've been selling around that $74.50 and the $74.45 area, we can see how sellers struggled as soon as price got into the $73.75. We saw buy pressure resume around this area during the London session yesterday, and in fact during the New York session we saw how it was impossible for sellers to even have the strength to push price into that area. And a couple of hours ago we saw how price got into this area, followed by a sharp rejection by the buyers to push price to the upside. And with this kind of situation and structure we have here, that is the continued buy pressure around this area, it doesn't make any sense for us to continue selling as long as price remains above this structure. The only scenario that will make me want to consider selling the US All Spot today is for me to see price action do a significant breakdown of this 73.75 level to incite an opportunity for me to sell. But as long as price action remains above this range, hold on a second, I think I'm having network issues right now. Okay, hold on a second, let's Hello, everyone. I'm back again. I'm so sorry for the break in transmission. I had network issues, so I had to quickly do the necessary adjustments so that we can have a better experience out here. In fact, I had gone so far before I realized that I was no longer online. Welcome back again. I'm sorry for the break in transmission once again. And please help me confirm in the comment section if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice. Please, I would really appreciate some feedbacks as regards to this, as this will help me confirm that we are all on the same page here. So I would like to see some feedback as regards to that while I continue with the session. So, like I was saying earlier before the break, we are actually analyzing the US all spot, and I told you that we're beginning to see a peculiar pattern around this area, which negates the idea of even thinking of selling the US all spot. And one of the parameters I made mention here is how price action, how participant in the market has been reacting to this new support line at $73.75 level, which happens to be the lowest point price action has been for this week. And as you can see here, every attempt by the sellers to break through the structure has been met with strong resistance from the buyers. So we saw here at the beginning of the week, that was yesterday during the New York session, we saw how buyers negated sellers' attempt here. And in fact, during the New York session yesterday, we saw how it was difficult for the sellers to even get close to that level. So there was no momentum enough to push price to that downside. Though this in the last couple of hours, we saw how price action got into that zone, but the inability of sellers to break through again was a clear sign that buyers are really strong around that area, giving us something that looks like a triple bottom structure, which from a technical standpoint is a very strong reversal pattern. So at this point in time, it doesn't seem reasonable to consider selling at this point, despite the breakdown of the ascending trend line we saw here yesterday. So the only thing that will make me want to sell the US all spots today is for me to see price action slice through the $73.75 area to incite a sell-off here. So if this does not happen, we are going to be looking out for buying opportunities today. And to guide the bullish expectation in this market, we still have this level intact at the $74.45, of course, and that's $74.50 zone, which is around this area. So I want to see price action break above this level and retest it a couple of times, giving me signs that buyers are gradually gaining momentum, after which I want to be joining a bullish move. So if I do not have a breakout retest, I would remain patient waiting for the structures to mature. Now, with the situation we have here, looking at what has been going on in the last couple of hours now, you will see that we already had a breakout of the structure a moment ago, I think like an hour ago, and price action appears to be doing a retest of that structure. So at this point in time, I can place my buy stop order anywhere above the $74.50 level to capture that uptrend continuation to the upside. Then we can have our stop losses, having a stop loss below the previous low here, which will be dovetailing to about 40 to 45 pips thereabout, which is not bad for this current position. So now we continue to hold on to this bullish bias as long as price remains above the $73.75 level. And one thing that I also want us to acknowledge here is that if price action climbs up into this territory, we are definitely going to be back within the bias territory. Remember the zone here we identified last week, which has been a very strong buying niche in this market. So if price comes into that area, the appearance of buy pressure around that level will definitely give us more opportunity to maximize the potential of that bullish move. And in fact, we have multiples of key levels here to help us capitalize on this move. We have one at the $75 area where a breakout retest will definitely welcome more opportunities to buy. And also we have another level at the $75.25 level, which of course is our key level for the week, and a breakout of this level will definitely welcome more opportunities in this market. So this is how we are going to be managing our trades on the US All Spot for today. Like I told you, I'm not considering selling unless price action breaks down the $73.75 area. So if you have any questions regarding what I just explained here, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next option. And you can as well take that time to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them to as a reference point to guide your trading activities for today. All right, so I can see a couple of comments here. One from Push Pakalati. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Push. Okay, I see your comments, but I'm not sure I understand what it means. If you don't mind, probably you rephrase that statement so that I can get what you're trying to say. And then it says XAUUSD range today. Are you asking? Are you seeking that I do an analysis on that one? Please clarify that in the comment section. Tom7, okay, your good morning. Nest57, good morning to you. 639, please, I don't know how to trade. Well, I will advise you to get some literatures to read on trading, and Xtrendspeed have quite a lot of materials on this platform which you can actually use to your own advantage. To understand the nitty-gritties in the financial market. I would advise you to start with that one first, then probably download a demo account from the Xtrendspeed platform here too as well, to test what you've learned so far. And the more time you spend, the more you get to understand how things works. And if you are with us during the session on a daily basis, you will get to understand things quicker. All right, 639. I can see your comment is Abdi Abdullah. Good morning to you. Trust you are doing very well. Glad to have you around. I didn't see you yesterday. Haki88. How are you, Haki88? Good morning to you. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are on the same page here. So we shall be moving right into the next instrument for today. And of course, the next instrument on our watch list is the USTech100. A very phenomenal situation we had here on the USTech100 yesterday. It was a very profitable trade for us, despite remember we were expecting a bearish momentum. Remember, we saw a potential reversal pattern which we identified, and it was looking more like a head and shoulder pattern where the 15,550 level was serving as a neckline of that reversal pattern, and we were looking forward to a breakdown retest of that structure to capture a bearish move to the downside. And as you can see, that never happened in the last 24 hours. Now, in addition to this reversal pattern here, you know how we do it in this community. We don't want to get ourselves stocked up on a particular idea. We want to be as dynamic and flexible as well. So if we have a bias in the market, we also want to take into consideration the opposite direction too as well, by checking the potentials of the opposite participants in the market. And during our live session yesterday, while we were anticipating the breakdown of the neckline at the 15,550, we also consider the potentials of the bias too. And if you recall vividly, at the beginning of the week, we had a beautiful channel which was identified, which emphasized the level of indecision in the market at the early hours of yesterday's trading session, as we had price action confined between the 15,600 and of course the 15,530 level. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we have this kind of flat channel, we want to remain patient, waiting for price action to either break down to give us an opportunity to sell, which never happened of course, or the breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy. And with our orders placed at both ends, we had our buy position triggered. In fact, if you had missed out on that one, within the hour the market came back to retest that structure to give us the second chance to be part of that move. And since that moment, price action had continued to climb, find new highs here. And if you are taking advantage of that opportunity and you're still currently in that trade, you will presently be running with over 90 pips in profit. For those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this move. As you all know, at this point, you know how we do it. The next thing we want to be doing right now is to ensure that we secure this current position by moving our stop losses accordingly to lock in this profit, as we don't want to lose out on this one we have made. And of course, while trying to lock in our profit, we want to ensure that we give room for price action to breed, with the hopes that price action may still continue to the upside. So with the current market structure we have here, I will be suggesting that we move all stop losses to anywhere right below the 15,670 zone and that area above the 15,640, as this is enough room for price action to breed, hoping that price action will continue to the upside. So with a well secured position at this juncture in the market, what is going to be our next line of action for today? So the first thing I would like us to do here before going into the details of what to look out for today is to let's scale up into a higher time frame so that we can see things from an holistic point of view and realign our position with what we have on the 1 hour time frame. So in order to do this, I want to quickly show you what we saw on the higher time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, during our live session yesterday. So this is the 4 hours time frame right here, and remember we identified something that was looking like an ascending channel after connecting the series of higher highs, as you can see, and the series of higher lows here. So we had something like this. Hold on a second, let me show you. So this is the higher low, and then we had the higher highs, and of course within the range we have a ascending trend line here, which I told us all yesterday that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. And one thing we saw prior to the New York session yesterday was how price action was consolidating along our key level at the 15,550, which also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line. So we said there yesterday that we are at a critical point in the market where anything could actually happen, and we could either see price action respecting the trend line to push price further to the upside, or we could see a situation where price will break down the trend line to incite a sell-off, probably into the support line of that ascending trend line, ascending channel. Now with the situation, we saw price respected this trend line, so we shall continue to use this trend line as our yardstick to guide trading activity for today. So I will extend that one out a little bit and then do some readjustment here so that it can capture majority of the pivot low we have on this structure. Now that we have this all marked out on our charts, another key important level here is the 15,725 level. Now remember, this level was the highest point price action has been so far, and we said here that we are going to be looking forward to a breakout retest to join a bullish move. But one interesting thing happened here yesterday, as we saw that as soon as price action got into that level, we begin to see some selling pressure around that area. And in fact, in the last 24 hours now, price action has been finding it difficult to break above that area, further giving us clues that sellers might likely be around this area to push price to the downside. And if we compare what happened around this area with what did happen there last week Friday, we saw another selling pressure. We saw another one here. Now the question at this point in time is, will this turn out to be a reversal pattern, probably in the form of a double top structure to incite a strong bearish move to the downside? Or are we going to be seeing a trend continuation pattern that will finally break out of the 15,725 to incite an uptrend continuation? Now, considering the fact that we are looking forward to the retail sales data coming in from the US docket today, this data here will have a major impact on price action. And in fact, we are beginning to see the anticipation of participants in this market ahead of the event as price action remains consolidating, further emphasizing the level of indecision in the market. So at this point in time, this whole consolidation phase we have here could transition into either a trend continuation if it breaks out of the structure to the upside, or a reversal pattern if price action drops below the support line. So what we are going to be doing here to have a better understanding of what is going on here is for us to scale down into a much more lower time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame where we shall be making our decision for today. Now, scaling back down into the 1 hour time frame, our center of focus is around here, so we shall just zoom right in to the structure. Now, don't forget the ascending trend line we identified on the higher time frame right here, and we've agreed that as long as price remains above this ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy positions, while we also look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, the question now is, will price come back into the trend line to retest it to incite another wave, or are we going to be seeing a breakdown of the trend line to incite a sell-off? So in fact, for us to sell the USTech100 today, we would need a breakdown retest of this ascending trend line for us to sell, and that will have confirmed that the sell pressure here have come to stay. So please consider this while trying to sell the USTech100. Now let's talk about the potentials of buyers at this point. So for me, I would like to bring out my line chart here. Very, very important. We want to identify the support line of this range, which falls around here, and that is the 15,000, let me see, 15,675 level. So we want to mark this level out on our chart, 15,675. All right, so we have it right there. So we just place it there and then bring back our candle chart. Now you can see price is within a range right now between the 15,725 and the 15,675. So the breakdown of the 15,675 also shares a confluence with that descending trend line, and of course that will welcome the selling opportunity here, probably into that support line where the TP target will be. But if price action continues to find higher highs here and leading into the breakout of the 15,725, then we want to be joining a trend continuation to the upside. Now, for those who are already profitable on the USTech100, like me now, I've been in this position since yesterday. I can afford to leverage on the profit I've made so far to test waters around that area by placing a buy stop order above the 15,725. To capture that move, then we have our stop loss sitting somewhere just right close to this level, which will dovetail to about 45 to 50 pips thereabout. But for those who are yet to take a position on the USTech100, and right now this is your first position here, I will suggest that you remain cautious. So you want to wait for the breakout of that 15,725 to happen. After it does happen, we scale down into our lower time frame, like the 15 minutes, 10 or even 5 minutes time frame, to look out for a retest of structure, followed by continued buy pressure around or above this area to join the trend continuation to the upside. So this is how we are going to be managing our trade on the USTech 100 for today. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the comment section to see if there are any questions, while you can use that time to mark out those key levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide trading activities for today. Okay. Okay, I see your emoticons, RK88. Thank you. All right, then Abbas55. Abbas says that, how do you view XAUUSD in respect of today's data? Sure, we are going to be treating that in a moment, so I hope you're still around, Abbas. The XAUUSD will be the next couple of pairs after this one, so I hope you'll be around, which I'll be discussing that in details. 603, good morning to you. 325, good morning to you, and thank you for checking in. So in the absence of no other questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page here, so we shall be moving right into the next instrument for today. So the next instrument on our watch list for today is, of course, the GBPUSD. And in fact, on the GBPUSD, I already have a buy position triggered at this point. So I will be sharing with you how I got to this point. I think it's part of what we discussed yesterday. And of course, you should be having a buy position running at this particular point in time. Now, let's run through how the week started for us here on this commodity. And during the live session yesterday, I told you I was in a buy position actually, and in fact that buy position went into a loss. So I had my first loss on the GBPUSD yesterday after buying had the breakout of that resistant line, as we saw price action drop to the downside, breaking down the support line here to trigger our sell stop order. And for the sell position, price moved about 40 pips thereabouts before this bullish pressure began today. So for those who are taking advantage of that opportunity, I do hope you moved your stop losses accordingly to lock in the profits. And if you had done that, you must have been taken out at a worst case scenario of break even. Now, with the situation we have here on the GBPUSD, it's quite interesting that price action is back into the range we identified at the beginning of the week. Now, remember, we identified a range here between the 1.3100 level and, of course, the 1.30820 level to emphasize the level of indecision at that point. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever price action falls into a range like this, we want to wait for either a breakout, which I actually took advantage of and went into a loss, and a breakdown of that structure for an opportunity to sell, which we also took advantage of, moved our stop loss accordingly, and got taken out with a moderate size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even. Then when you look at the structure closely this morning, while I was trying to dissect what could really be going on in this market this morning, the first thing I observed here is the buy pressure around the 1.3060 level. Now look at what happened around the structure. We saw two sharp rejection of that area, giving us candles that looks like a hammer candle, which from a technical standpoint is a very, very strong signal that buyers are present here. Now, coupled with the structure here, we begin to see how price action continues to find higher lows. And as you can see, we saw what happened here during the early hours of today, another higher low here. And in the last couple of hours, we've been noticing sharp rejection of the structure. And because of these sharp rejections and higher lows in this market, I was tending towards a bullish momentum. And that the only thing that will make me want to sell the GBPUSD at this point was for me to see price action break down the ascending trend line. And of course, I will be waiting for a confirmation to be sure that sellers are actually here to stay, which would reflect on the chart as a retest of structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside, which of course never happened. Now, with a buy stop order sitting above the 1.3100 level, I had my buy position, my second buy position for the week triggered around this area. And if you are taking advantage of that opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to catch that move, as you will currently be running with about 16 to 17 pips in profit at this point. Now, where we are right now, I'm of the opinion that we should be moving our stop losses to secure the current position. Let's have it at break even at this point in time while we wait to see how price action will be reacting above this area. Now remember that the 1.3100 level is our key level for the week. Remember, we identified this on the higher time frame, and you know how we use our key level in this community. As long as price remains above our key level, we have no other choice than to continue to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying that asset. Now that price action remains above that key level, we of course have no other choice than to continue to look out for buying opportunities. Now, for those who had missed out on this buy position that triggered above the 1.3100 level, well, I would advise you to remain patient at this point in time, as we want to see new structures to unfold here before we join any trend continuation. And you all know from a technical standpoint that whenever price action breaks out of a significant structure just like the 1.3100 level in this case scenario, we expect that price action still has a tendency of coming back to retest the structure in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. So if you had missed out on this first buy position here, we can wait and remain patient to see if the market will come down to retest that level, after which the appearance of buy pressure on our lower time frame will welcome the idea of joining or adding more position to our existing trade. Now, there is another caveat to this bullish expectation in this particular market, and that is as a result of the higher lows we have been observing here since the New York session yesterday. Now, if you look at the structure closely after identifying the higher lows, we have an ascending trend line figured out after connecting the series of higher lows together. And you know how we use our ascending trend lines in this community. As long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we want to feel comfortable in our buy position, while we also look out for more opportunities to buy the GBPUSD. Now, in this case scenario, if we are going to be seeing a retracement of this breakout of the key level at the 1.31, price might either come into this 1.31 before this trend continuation happens, or it could even come to the ascending trend line here, which is another bus stop to look out for buying opportunity to join that move to the upside. So you can see how both the trend line and the 1.31 level is going to be our yardstick to guide any momentum if price action drops along the line. So you want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide trading activities today. Now, one more expectations as regards to the trend continuation to the upside here. Now, what happens if price does not drop to the downside? That is, price does not drop to either the 1.31 or the trend line and instead continues to find higher highs. How are we going to miss out on that one? Well, it depends on what the market brings. Another thing that we can look out for at this juncture on the market is, following this impulsive move we have here, If we see price action transition into something like a consolidation phase around here, probably like a flat channel or probably a pennant, whatever case it may be, a breakout of the resistance line will welcome the trend continuation to the upside. So we want to be part of that move if that is going to be the case here. So let's see how price action will play out in the next couple of hours. Then remember that we have a key level, of course, at the 1.31400 level, where if price action breaks above the structure, we shall be welcoming more buying opportunities in this market to maximize the potential of this bullish move. So this is how we are going to be managing our existing position on the our existing buy position on the GBPUSD. Then in as much as we have a buy position running at this point, the only criteria that will make us want to consider selling the GBPUSD is only if price action breaches this ascending trend line. And we need to remember here that we don't want to get too excited when price action breaks down the ascending trend line, as we'll need some confirmations to happen before we want to be jumping into any position here. So if a breakdown happens, you scale down to your lower time frame to look out for a retest of structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So we are not going to be selling the GBPUSD if the price action does not break down the ascending trend line. So these are my views here on the GBPUSD for today. I hope I made myself clear. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next instrument on our watch list. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are on the same page. So we shall be moving right into the next instrument on our watch list. So the next instrument on our watch list today is the XAUUSD. Now on the XAUUSD, another very interesting trading setup we have here on this chart. I hope Abbas55 is around. You are the one asking about the XAUUSD. I hope you are back. You are back with us. So here we go on the XAUUSD. So now on this instrument here, we have been buying right now. We are in a buy position. Remember, we bought yesterday. I told you all that I had a buy position running as at yesterday. Okay, Abbas55, glad to have you around. You're welcome. All right, so yesterday's trading session, let's run through what we saw at the beginning of the week. Now remember that the first thing we saw on this 1 hour time frame chart is the fact that since Thursday's trading session, that is Thursday of last week, we saw how we've been noticing some lower highs in this market, which we actually connected to give us not one but two trend lines that we said we were going to be using to guide our trading activities for yesterday. And you know how we use our descending trend lines here in this community. If price action remains below the trend line, we want to feel comfortable in the sell positions, while a breakout of the trend line will definitely welcome the idea of buying that asset. Now, with the situation we had here, I told you I had a buy position yesterday at this point. That was prior to the live session, and in fact, I moved my stop loss and was taken out of that position at break even as we saw the strong engulfing bearish candle come into the market, and in fact it went on to trigger my sell stop order, and after moving my stop loss to that one too went into break even, and since then price action had continued to find higher lows in this particular market, and that led into the breakout of that ascending trend line, which we all agreed here yesterday that a breakout of that descending trend line, will be welcoming the idea of buying. And remember that after the breakout of the 1955 level, we identified multiple levels that we said we are going to be using to maximize the potential of that bullish move. And as you can see here, we had the breakout of the $1,956.75 level. Remember, that was the resistance line for the week, giving us the second position on that one. Then we also had the breakout of the 1,960 level, and of course we had the breakout of the $1,963.50 level to capitalize on this strong bullish momentum. So in the last 24 hours right now, we have at least a minimum of 4 buy positions running at this point in time. Now, if we take an accumulative total of what is going on here, so the first position will currently be running with about 80 pips in profit, while the second position here will be running with about 62 pips, and the third position here is running with about 30 pips, making a total of 170 pips. And then the third position at the breakout of the 1963 is running in a loss of 7 pips. So we have a total of 140 pips running in profit on the XAUUSD so far this week. And in fact, congratulations to everyone who had been on standby to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, with the situation we have right now, as price action has significantly moved in our favor, you know what we want to be doing next. The next thing we are going to be doing right now is to move all stop losses to secure the current buy position. And the only way we can do this is to look at the current market structure to decipher the lowest point price action has been in the last let's say 6 hours thereabouts. And from what I can see here, I think anywhere right around the 1961 level and anywhere below the 1960 seems most appropriate to move all stop losses to. And of course, you know why that is. We want to give enough room for price action to breathe with the intention that price might still continue to the upside and might do some retracement phase along the line to gather the momentum to push price to the upside. So with our positions well secured at this point in time, what is going to be our plans for today's trading session? Well, from the look of things right now, things are looking very bullish considering the activity of price action since the beginning of this week. And in fact, to further emphasize this, I was able to connect a series of higher lows here to identify a trend line which we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. So we have a trend line right here, which of course we are going to be using, and it is very necessary you mark out these levels on your chart as you will be needing them to as a reference point to guide this bullish momentum. And what this simply means at this juncture is that as long as price action remains above this ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position as we look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, with the current situation we have here, price remains very much above this ascending trend line, and of course it's reasonable to look out for buying opportunity at this point. But one pattern I would like to share with you here is the nature of price action around the $1,963.50 level. Now, if we look at what has been going on around this area since hold on a second, I think I'm having network issues again. Give me a moment. All right, sorry about the break in transmission. That was just a network itch, and I'm glad we are back on. If you can see my screen, please let me know in the comment section that we are still together in this community. So, like I was saying earlier, I was talking about how we are going to be positioning ourselves ahead of the New York session today. And one of the parameters I stated here is the use of the ascending trend line. And I told us how I was able to identify that by connecting the series of the multiple pivot lows here. I have this trend line we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. So as long as price remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable buying the XAUUSD while we also look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, with the way situation, with where price action is at this point, price is way above this ascending trend line, which of course is a good sign for us to look out for buying opportunities. But there is a pattern here I would like us to take into consideration while we continue to monitor price action, and that is the $1,963 zone. Now, if you look at how price action has been relating to this level since last week Thursday, you will see that every attempt by the buyers to break out of this level has been met with strong resistance from the sellers. And at every point in time, we saw selling pressure resume when buyers get into that area. And in fact, you can see what has been going on here in the last 4 to 5 hours. Now, with the situation we have here, you would agree with me that we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers too. And if selling pressure here continues, we might likely be seeing a retracement of this impulsive move that started yesterday, probably bringing price back into the ascending trend line to incite another wave of bullish momentum. And one interesting thing about the ascending trend line here is the fact that it also shares a confluence with the $1,956.50 level. Remember that level very well. That was our resistance line at the beginning of the week, and you saw the breakout of that level here. How you know from a technical standpoint, when price action breaks out of a structure, we expect it to come back, retest the level to incite a trend continuation. So if the selling pressure persists below the $1,963.50 level, we might likely be seeing a retracement phase to the downside. So that is why I told us all to secure this current sell position while we wait and see how far the bearish momentum will go if it does push price to the downside. And remember, we have a buy stop, we have a bust stop here to look out for buying opportunity to join that move to the upside. Now, if price does not drop down and instead continues to climb and find higher highs, then a breakout retest of the 1963 will welcome more opportunities. Though we already had a buy position at this point, which is running in a loss right now of about 7 pips, but with the situation, we are very profitable at this point. I will still place another buy stop order above that level to capitalize that move. But for those who have not taken any position yet on the XAUUSD, that is, you've not opened any position and you're not profitable on this one yet, I will suggest that you wait and see a retest of the structure before joining any bullish move to the upside. So this is how we are going to be managing our expectations on the XAUUSD today. Then another thing I would like us to take into consideration too is the potentials the sellers have here. Now, considering this whole situation we have, the only thing that will make me want to consider selling the XAUUSD is for me to see price action slice through this ascending trend line, which of course would have broken down of the 1957 area to incite a selling signal. But remember, we are not going to be getting too excited as we will need confirmations before joining that move. So as soon as a breakdown happens at that point, we want to scale down into a lower time frame where we shall be looking out for retest of structure to join that trend continuation to the downside. So this is how we are going to be managing the sell position at this point. But there is one thing about selling the XAUUSD around this area which I also want us to take into consideration too. And that is, if we consider the distance between where price is and where the breakdown will happen. That's like 60 pips thereabout. And in fact, we can actually take advantage of a bearish momentum even before the breakdown of the ascending trend line happens. And that will only happen if we see significant signs and patterns and confirmation that sellers are getting stronger. And this would reflect on the chart as lower lows and lower highs. So if we begin to see lower lows and lower highs even before the breakdown of that trend line happens, we can be on standby to catch a bearish move and then wait. As soon as price gets into the trend line, we move our stop losses to secure the sell positions while we wait and see how price will react to the ascending trend line to decide if we are going to be adding more sell position to our existing trade or getting ready to buy. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the comment section and see if there are any questions while I try to round off on this session. So you can as well use that time to mark out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point in making your independent decision on your account. Alright, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page here. And it's on this note I would like to call it a day. It has been a wonderful moment out here, and I hope that we are ready and prepared to take advantage of potential trading opportunities ahead of the New York session. So today, so far, we were able to trade 4 financial instruments: the USOILSPOT, the USTech100, the GBPUSD, and of course the XAUUSD. So I look forward to seeing us same time tomorrow. Let's see how well this instrument will be doing in the next 24 hours. And of course, we shall be back here to review how well they are doing, and at the same time get ready for the New York session tomorrow. It's on this note I wish you best of luck and hoping to see you same time tomorrow. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from the discussion we made today. And trust me, the more time you spend with us, the better you become in understanding how things works here, and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your independent decision on your account. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.